Kenny, the Pirates closed out the non-conference part of the schedule last week with a game against California Lutheran up here in the Fieldhouse. Kind of got away from us a little bit in the second half. Talk about what you saw and transitioning back from break and all of those things coming together and how that played out in the game.
Yeah, so it was kind of a hectic few days as far as travel and getting, different people back that were kind of scattered around the West Coast. So I'm really glad that first off, Cali was able to come up and get the game. It's always kind of like took us back to a few years ago where things would be up in the air sometimes around certain games. But it was something where, the first half was sort of a theme we've had where it's been just kind of up and down and a little inconsistent as far as, build a lead, give it up, find yourself down, and then fight back to take the lead at halftime, and then just kind of found ourselves in a lull that we found ourselves in a few times in the non-conference portion of the schedule where we get stuck and somewhat just become a little bit undisciplined and stop executing the things that made us successful in the first half. So it's kind of like we're still working on ourselves at this point, and it's really nice to have somewhat of a fresh start with the new year and a reset to some extent going into conference play where I feel like we can learn from all the things that have happened and understanding that we've been on, the unlucky side of the draw and of the coin as far as, not winning these one or two possession games but finding ourselves in the loss column there. So hopefully we can learn from those things, and the proud perspective from my point of view is that we're still growing and moving in the right direction. So it's like we're still not the team that we can be and haven't been thus far. So that's what I'm looking forward to getting into this conference schedule.
Well, let's talk a little more about that. You finished the non-conference schedule with a record of 3-6. Talk about where your expectations might have been, knowing going into the season only 2 of those games were going to be at home and 7 of them were going to be away from home. So where does that fit in terms of maybe what you were thinking preseason, and what do you feel like this team has really picked up well through the course of playing the non-conference schedule?
I'll answer the latter one first. I really think that the learning has came from understanding what our standard needs to be a team that's competing at the top of the Northwest Conference against, multiple perennial NCAA tournament teams. And you look at a Fox, a Whitman, a UPS, and knowing that, we played UPS well for a half and then a few minutes here and there kind of let things get away from you. Playing some other teams earlier in the non-conference, whether it was home or away, it's like that wasn't something we really talked about. It was more of a reality, like we're on the road, this is how it's going to be. But it was something like looking at the 3-6 record as we moved through the non-conference, I was able to kind of assess better and develop more of an expectation and predictions along the way. So I'd say in there were, you look at probably 2 or 3 games where you have the lead and you feel like you should be able to win those games, but that's not always the way it pans out. That's why you play them. So I'd say, obviously a goal would have been to be above 500. So a 5-4 or a 6-3 in our benefit would have been something I would have been pleased with, but that's not what happened. So we just have to learn from it and move on. I think from the player's perspective, just how quick the season goes, you feel like, every loss feels like it takes a week or 2 to get over. And from the coaching perspective, you're like, we know what our grand plan is, and we knew coming into the year, the non-conference schedule is built to prepare us for the conference in hopes of making the conference tournament, wanting to win the conference tournament and get into get the automatic bid. So those are the kind of things we're working towards. So I think that using the non-conference as, a test and seeing where we're at and knowing what things we need to hone in on are really some of the big advantages we've had from the non-conference. Even though the results didn't pan out, I've still felt like our trajectory is moving in the right direction.
And that trajectory taking us into this weekend, return to Northwest Conference play. We're hosting Lewis and Clark in Pacific. What have you seen on film? What challenges will these teams present on Friday and Saturday?
LC has 3 really good players. 2 of their guards are good shooters, and then they have a post player that's averaging a double-double. So it's like, drawing back to the non-conference again, the nice thing is we were able to be exposed to many of the types of kind of roster makeups and styles and skill sets that we'll see in conference. So being able to take away, focus on 1 or 2 players to key in on is something that we've been trying to focus on as far as our scouts and game plans go, and that'll be really prevalent in the LC game. And then Pacific's been, a really good program the last, I think, 3 to 5 years. And it's going to be a team that's, similar to us as far as they play, I think, about 9 or 10 almost, into the double-digit minutes. So it's like there's going to be a lot of fresh bodies coming in and out, and just making sure you're keeping matchups, being locked in on what people's tendencies are, and then just, they're probably one of the, top 2 or 3 teams we've seen at this point this year. So it's nice to, have them at our place, not being on the road again. So having a nice whole week of preparation here with everybody back and just getting into that flow is going to be nice and refreshing for our group.